Welcome to part 2 of this Resin Beach tutorial. My name's Tracey, and if you haven't done so already, please watch part 1. It'll make a little bit more sense. I'm sanding back the first layer with an 80 grit sandpaper. This will help to create some tooth on the surface so the resin has something to stick to. I will say it was completely dried, so I dried it for 24 hours before sanding. And the brand of resin I'm using is Art Resin. I'm mixing 50% hardener and 50% resin and stirring it until all those lines have gone. I'll pour it about an inch higher because it always runs down. And I'll use Aqua Ocean again by Rez Expressions. I used that last time, and I'm also going to use Blue Ice. Last time I used 3 colours. This time I'm just going with the 2 darker colours. The Aqua Ocean's a pearl colour and it's just beautiful. And this is the Blue Ice. It's a powder, and I've got to stir it quite a lot to make sure all those little flakes disappear. It's also a pearlescent colour too, so they complement each other really beautifully. I don't know if it's just me, but when I work on these larger ocean pieces with the pearl colours, the pigments, I find it challenging minimising the brush marks or the lines that I create from using the knife or even the heat gun there. You can see them. So I use the heat gun to try and smooth the colours and blend them, but then I've got those patterns, you can see it there, so then I want to try and lessen those, so I'll use this knife again, but then I've got the lines from the knife, so then I'm using the craft stick, and I decide that maybe the best way is to tilt the board. If I can tilt it and try and blend the colours that way without even touching them, it might smooth it out a bit. And voila, it's working. Now I can pop those bubbles with the blowtorch. Now I'll create a bit more of that texture and effect with a silver metallic paint. I just smear it on the back of a palette knife and dab that on. I use that on the first layer as well. Now I'm going to add just a little bit more so that you can just see all that silver because some of it got covered up by the pigment. And when that's done, I'll start pouring my white. I'm using Angel White by Rez Expressions and just making sure that it's quite opaque before I start pouring it and it's thick enough. The Angel White and Art Resin go really well together. I get some really good lacing and waves out of that combination. The combination of resin and brand of white you use is very important in getting that lacing. If you're not getting it, I would suggest trying different brands and the combination of different brands until you get the right one that's actually working. I love using the heat gun with a compressor nozzle because I can control where that air is coming out. It's not going to blow my wave all over the place. And I can also get a lot of air pressure out of it. And here I just need to just touch up that little bit. You can just add a little bit of white on carefully, again, if you need to correct your wave. And gently blowing that out so I'm not disrupting that second wave above it. And it can take a while for the lacing to form once the heat gets onto it and activates it. So at this stage, I'm unsure at this point what my wave's really going to look like because it hasn't yet had that time to really build up that lacing and develop. In the meantime, more bubbles have started to surface, so I'll pop those with the heat gun. And now I can just tidy up some of these white lines, this wave, and just perfect it a little bit. I like how the dolphins are looking. You can tell what they are, but they're not too obvious. And I love this part of adding the white around the rocks. It really brings it to life, and it's just a little easy thing to do. It's a small area to manage, not like a big long wave. I find it's better to put quite a bit of white on because it does disappear. Like after 10 minutes or so, once the lacing has started to activate, it does kind of disappear a little bit. So I know this is going to happen, so I'm putting a bit more on just to help with that later on. You can now see the final result of the lacing, how it's worked in the end once it's started to form and develop. And I do love reading all your comments and your feedback, so please keep them coming, and I hope you enjoyed watching this. My name's Tracey. Thank you so much for watching.